The morning sun rose slowly over the edge of Denver, spilling golden light over the quiet streets. It was one of those mornings that seemed ordinary to everyone, except to those whose lives were about to change forever. At the very edge of the city stood a small roadside cafe called the Clover Stop. It wasn't much, just 4 booths, a counter that had lost its shine, and the comforting smell of coffee that seemed to linger from dawn till dusk. The air always carried the faint hum of conversation and clinking cups, a symphony of routine. But that morning, something was different. Behind the counter, Emily Dawson, 23, wiped her hands nervously on her apron. Her hair was tied back in a loose braid, a few rebellious strands framing her pale face. She'd been working there for 6 months, enough time to memorize every regular, every song on the radio, every creak in the floorboards. The cafe was her world, small, fragile, and peaceful, until the door opened. It wasn't the usual chime of a friendly customer. The bell above the door clanged too hard, followed by a sharp, mocking laugh that seemed to slice through the morning calm. 3 men entered, strangers, loud and careless, their heavy boots tracking mud across the clean tiles. They smelled of cigarettes and cheap whiskey, their eyes restless, searching for trouble. Emily stiffened. Her heart began to pound, but she forced a smile. "Good morning, gentlemen," she said softly. "What can I get you?" The tallest of them, broad-shouldered with a scar across his cheek, leaned on the counter, his smirk cruel. "You can start with the smile that's real, sweetheart." Laughter erupted behind him. One of the others kicked a chair aside and said, "Maybe she needs help smiling." The cafe fell silent. The other customers, 2 old men reading newspapers, a mother with her child, averted their eyes. Everyone knew the type. Drunk, violent, unpredictable. No one wanted to be the one to speak up. Emily felt her hands tremble. She'd seen their kind before, but this time something in their eyes was different, darker, meaner. "Please," she said quietly, "if you want coffee, just..." Before she could finish, the tall one reached over and grabbed the front of her apron, yanking her forward. The sound of tearing fabric echoed through the cafe. Gasps filled the air. Emily froze. Her hands shook violently as she tried to step back, but the man's grip tightened. "You think you can talk to me like that? You don't tell me what to do, girl." Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. Humiliation burned her cheeks. She could feel every gaze in the cafe, every person pretending not to see. She thought of her brother, Jason, and the way he used to stand up for her when they were kids. He'd been her shield, her protector. But he wasn't here. Not anymore. He'd left home years ago, joined a motorcycle club, and rode into a life she didn't understand. Now she needed him more than ever. The man shoved her backward. "You hear me, sweetheart? You better learn your place." Then, the sound that cut through everything. The door opened again. A gust of cold morning air swept through the cafe, carrying the scent of asphalt and motor oil. Footsteps followed, steady, confident, echoing off the tiled floor like the beat of a war drum. Every head turned. 2 men walked in, both in dark leather vests marked with a familiar emblem, a winged skull with the words, "Iron Souls MC." The taller one, bald with a thick beard, scanned the room with eyes that didn't need to ask questions. But it was the man in front, broad, strong, and composed, who silenced the air itself. Jason Dawson, Emily's brother. He hadn't changed much, his hair a bit longer, a few more scars around his knuckles, but his presence was something else now. It wasn't loud or aggressive, it was quiet power. He didn't need to shout. The world seemed to make space when he walked. Jason's gaze landed on Emily. For a moment, the chaos fell away. His eyes softened, that same protective warmth he remembered from years ago. But when he saw her torn apron and the men standing before her, something inside him shifted. The air thickened. He stepped forward, his boots echoing on the tiles. The bullies instinctively stepped back. The tallest one opened his mouth, maybe to talk, maybe to justify, but no sound came. Jason didn't raise his voice. He didn't even look at them. He just stood there, calm, unblinking. The silence spoke louder than any threat. Then slowly he took off his leather jacket and placed it over Emily's shoulders. Her hands trembled beneath its weight. The smell of motor oil and rain somehow comforting, familiar. "Come on," Jason said softly. "You're okay." The men backed away, muttering curses under their breath, but they didn't dare to meet his eyes again. The entire cafe remained silent as Jason led his sister out, his arms steady around her shoulders. Outside, the wind bit cold, carrying the scent of freedom and redemption. 2 motorcycles waited by the curb, engines glinting under the pale sun. Jason helped her onto one, his movements gentle, protective. As the engines roared to life, Emily glanced back once at the cafe, the place where her fear had been broken. Then she held on to her brother tightly, her heart finally steady. They rode through the streets of Denver, the wind tearing away what was left of her trembling. She didn't need to speak. Jason didn't ask. The sound of the engines said everything. "You're safe now." That night, they stopped by an old highway diner, miles outside the city. The neon lights buzzed faintly, painting the world in soft pink and blue. Emily sat across from Jason, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. He studied her quietly. "You shouldn't have to deal with that," he said finally. She gave a small, bitter smile. "People don't change, Jason. The world doesn't change." He leaned back, arms crossed. "No, but you can. You don't let them win." Her eyes welled up. "I tried to be strong, like you taught me." Jason's voice softened. "You were." Strength isn't about not being afraid, Em. It's about standing again after someone tries to break you. She looked at him, the brother she had once watched ride away, angry at the world. Now he was back, calm and whole in a way she couldn't explain. "Do you ever regret leaving?" she asked quietly. Jason took a long breath. His eyes drifted to the window, where the highway lights stretched into the distance. "I had to find something I couldn't hear. I had to learn how to fight, not just for myself, but for what's right." Emily reached across the table and took his hand. "You did." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but tonight I'm just glad I got here in time." The days that followed were different. Jason stayed in town, fixing bikes at a small garage run by his club. Sometimes he'd drop by the cafe just to check in, his presence enough to keep trouble at bay. People whispered about the biker who looked out for his sister, but no one dared to test him. Emily began to smile again. Her confidence returned little by little. She wasn't just a girl behind a counter anymore. She was someone who had seen what fear could do and survived it. Sometimes she'd watch Jason work, grease on his hands, humming to the sound of engines. He seemed at peace there, in the rhythm of repair, in the smell of fuel and metal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily brought him dinner. "You still remember how to fix things," she teased. He chuckled. "Old habits. Someone's got to keep the world running." "Not just the world. You keep people running, too." Jason looked at her, a long, quiet look that said more than words. That's what big brothers are for. Months passed. Life found a rhythm again. But one night, as Emily closed up the cafe, she heard shouting from outside. Rough, angry voices. Her blood goes cold. She peeked through the blinds. The same men, the bullies. They hadn't forgotten. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone, but before she could dial, the rumble of engines filled the night air. Headlights cut through the darkness. The Iron Souls had arrived. Jason's bike stopped first, gravel crunching beneath the tires. He got off, calm but deadly quiet. The other bikers, 5 of them, spread out behind him. The tallest thug spat on the ground. "This is your brother? Huh? Think you can hide behind him forever?" Jason stepped closer. "She doesn't hide behind anyone. You, on the other hand, are about to run." The man laughed. "You think we're afraid of—" He didn't finish. Jason didn't hit